Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is our Realtor Roadmap Agent Spotlight, and today I'm excited to introduce you to an amazing guest, Shea Spitz with EXP Realty. Shea is a faith-filled woman, a devoted wife, and a mother of three. She's been in the real estate industry for 7 years, and along the way, she's built a reputation for running a successful business while also inspiring others through her entrepreneurial motherhood podcast. In this interview, you're going to hear Shea share powerful insights on how to focus your day, how to run your real estate business like a true business, and how to serve your clients with a heart for others, one family at a time. So grab a notebook, lean in, and get ready to be inspired by Shea in today's Realtor Roadmap Agent Spotlight. So let's jump into the interview. And the first question is based into kind of your story. So how did you get started into real estate? Like what
Uh,
year did you get started? How long have you been in? That type of thing.
so we actually got started into real estate back in 2016. I was working as a case manager for mentally ill adults. My husband was electrical project manager. And one morning he had texted me, it was like 6 a.m. He was already left for work. And he said, "Hey, Shay, there's a investment seminar or a renovation seminar in Omaha. I want to go to that." We went to that free seminar. It was like a 3 hour class. Now, mind you, neither of us have come from a real estate background. Our families are not in real estate on either side. I mean, they own their own homes, but that was it. So we went to this 3 hour seminar, and then that led to like doing a $200 or $300 investment to a 3 day course, which then led to much more than that. We were very, very poor at the time. I was making like $25,000 a year. My husband, obviously, he did much better than I was doing. He also had the health insurance and stuff like that. We had one kid, just bought a house, just got married, and a second one on the way. So when we went to this 3 day seminar, the cost to invest into this particular program, it was about investing in properties, flipping properties, things like that. It was $25,000. And I flat out, and I was 8.5 months pregnant. I told Adam, I was like, we are not doing this. And I mean, we were so poor that we couldn't even afford to stay in a hotel. So we actually stayed at his mother-in-law or stepmother's parents' house in Omaha. Like that, we had no money. We didn't have money for a hotel or anything like that. And Adam was very adamant. He's like, "I really think we should do this." And I stayed home, I think the third day, something like that. And he called me, he's like, "Shay, I want to do this." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, okay. All right." So we literally took out credit cards for $25,000. We were applying for credit cards. We were calling our credit card company to try to get more. I mean, I think our balance on our credit card couldn't exceed like $500, but we were extending it. We were opening up credit cards, and most of the credit card debt that we opened up, we had a year or 18 months to get it paid off at 0% interest. So we literally put all of the $25,000 on credit cards. And it was the hardest year of our relationship, of our life, and financially more than anything. We found a house, we bought it, we flipped it, and we were able to pay that off in that 1 year. And it was one of the hardest decisions we did. It was a huge leap of faith. I didn't tell this story or tell how much we invested until like a couple years ago, and nobody knew. I mean, if people would have known, they would have called us crazy, they would have judged us, whatever. And so we actually started flipping and renovating properties, did a handful of those while working full time. And I decided that, you know what, I loved real estate so much. I also had situations going on at my current work where my caseload, I was always at like 30. The average should have been like 22. And I remember going to my boss at the time and I asked her, I said, "Hey, I mean, if I'm taking on all of these additional clients, but no additional pay, like, could I get some sort of an incentive for having a loaded caseload?" And she told me no. And I was like, all right, I am done letting somebody else dictate my worth, because I would go to work, loved my coworkers, but I would go there. I was always constantly on the go, 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 meeting with clients. And I would have a couple coworkers who would just like sit there all day because their caseload was like 10. And I'm like, I have 30. What are we doing? And I realized that no matter how hard I worked, whether I worked really hard or not at all, I was getting paid the same. And so that was kind of like the camel that broke, or the straw that broke the camel's back. And I told myself, I was like, all right, I'm going to get my real estate license. I took the test, passed it on the first time, and I went 100% into it. And that was in 2018.
Nice, nice. And so what would you say is that your why for choosing the real estate business?
Because I knew I was worth so much more than what I was getting paid. And I also wanted my success to be my success and my failures to be my failures. I did not want somebody else to dictate what my worth was. It's interesting that I always wanted to help people, which is why I tried nursing. Then you have to draw blood, and I don't like blood. I don't know why I thought that was a good idea. I did it for a year. I literally was in nursing school for a year. Don't know why that didn't cross my mind. So I got out of it, went into human service counseling because I always wanted to help people. And I never thought about helping people on a grander scale. And honestly, getting into real estate, I have been able to help so many more people, not only like buying homes, but in their personal life, financially, donations through, to my church, to nonprofit organizations. I mean, I have been able to help so many more people than I ever would being a case manager.
Okay, good. So basically service,
Yeah.
right? Just
Hmm.
kind of wanting to help people. And it
Yeah.
kind of was just the idea was real estate, but it's kind of expanded into other avenues with that. So, all
Yes.
right. So how long have you been in real estate?
Well, as an agent since 2018. So 7 years.
Okay, so that's so 7 years. Okay. So in your 7 years as a real estate agent, in your
Mhm.
helping people buy and sell real estate, what has been your biggest challenge so far, and how have you overcome that?
I would say my biggest challenge, especially at first, is not taking things personal. I've really grown personally to not take it personal, but I would say for like the first 3, 4 years, it was really hard not to take things personal. When you had family or friends, cousins, whatever, using other agents to help buy and sell, it was really hard not to take those things personal. And I would say that initially, I have a cousin who, long story, I won't get into it. I feel like that kind of hindered my relationship with him even to this day. And again, there's more to it, but I don't necessarily, I mean, I let it affect me. I let that affect me. And any agent that I train now, I always let them know, because a lot of times they push people, and especially new agents, oh, work your sphere of influence, work your sphere of influence. To be honest with you, no, don't work your sphere of influence, because I don't, I no, I would not, as a new agent, I would not work my sphere of influence. Can you post and let people know about it? Absolutely. But if you're really trying to target your sphere of influence, I would say don't do it, because you're going to take it personal. You're going to get hurt. There's a lot of betrayal is what you may feel. And I would say that was probably one of the biggest challenges that came into real estate, aside from having to cultivate your own leads. When I got into real estate, I thought that there was gonna be a list of buyers and a list of sellers, and I could just pick whoever I wanted to work with. Not the case, not when you're a new agent. And so that was like a rude awakening for me. I remember going on my first day, it was July 8th, 2018, or July 9th, 2018. I remember sitting in my cubicle and thinking, oh shit, now what? What am I supposed to do here? I thought there was a list I could pick from. And that's not the case. But I would say my biggest challenge is not taking things personal. And what I did to kind of overcome that is, one, recognizing that people and realizing that people do what's going to be best for them and their family, and it's not a personal situation. They are doing what they feel is best for them and their family, and you have to be okay with that. And then two is, I really dug deeper and I really focused on personal development and building my confidence that, hey, I'm not going to be for everybody. I'm not going to be the best decision there, and people aren't going to be the best for me either. That takes time. That takes constant grit to get to that point. And I did a lot of that through personal help books. I've read a lot of books, and then also podcasts. One of my favorite podcasts is The Mindset Mentor by Rob Dial. He's probably my favorite one. He has helped me grow so much mentally over the years. So that's what I would
Good,
recommend.
good. So where would you say your turning point or breakthrough moment was in your business when things really started to click for you?
Um, I did catch on to real estate rather quickly. I mean, my first full year in real estate, I had about 45 transactions, and it's just gone up since then. But so it's kind of always clicked. It's just putting yourself out there, having a relatable personality, being authentic. Like, I always try to force myself to where dresses and heels because I was, looking up to other agents who were successful, in my mind. And it was about honestly 2 years ago. I was just like, okay, that's not me. Oh no, it was probably about 4 years ago where I was finally like, all right, I'm gonna be myself. Like I am a tennis shoe person. I like jeans. I like dresses. Don't get me wrong. I'll wear all that stuff, when the time is right. But on a normal day, I'm usually wearing a nice shirt, or a t-shirt in jeans and tennis shoes. Like that's just my vibe. And also purple. If anybody knows me, purple is my thing. But the turning point, there's a couple different times where I hit like that turning point. But I would say my real breakthrough was about 2.5 years ago when I transitioned from the brokerage and the company that I started with to changing over to a completely different brokerage where I had nobody. It forced me to learn and understand the real estate industry even more, as weird as that sounds. I was in the real estate industry for about 4.5 years already. But I also, after I left, I realized how much I didn't know about the world like behind the scenes and the reality of real estate. Um, and then it also forced me to kind of do my own thing. Like, even though EXP Realty is obviously a nationwide brokerage and there's tens of thousands of agents, but I was still independent. EXP promotes cloud based. So we didn't really have anybody here locally. We didn't have a brick and mortar. We didn't have anybody. And that was very scary for me. That was very, very, very scary. And there was a lot of tears before, there was a lot of tears after. Um, so that was probably my biggest breakthrough because it forced me to learn more about me and more about my business and how I can grow my business without having a name brand company. It is more about branding yourself than it is about the company. Obviously, we have rules and regulations that you still have to brand your company, obviously, on everything that you do. But people don't buy and sell because of the company you're with. They buy and sell with you, despite who you're with. And that was really the transition for me because my mindset before I left is like, oh, you're basically what I was being told is you're successful because of who you're with. You're successful because of the name brand. And I finally realized like that was not the case. And after I left, I realized it was actually holding me back more than anything, being where I was at. And now business had slowed down, expenses increased. I had to learn all new platforms, all new paperwork. I had to find my own photographer. I mean, it was a nightmare. I'm not gonna lie. There were so many tears, and crocodile tears, but it was the best thing I could have ever decided to do.
What, so I wasn't planning on going in this direction, but I'm just curious. So what was obviously you're with Keller Williams before. That's where
Right.
you were before, and then
Yep.
switched to EXP.
Yep.
So when you decided to that you knew you were going to make that move,
Yep.
what was your process? And obviously you did you just go from Keller Williams to EXP, or was there some type of a process that you followed, interviewed a couple companies in order to make that decision?
So it's interesting because what I wanted is I wanted to be more than Columbus. I want to be more than Nebraska. And not just in the real estate world. Like I want to make a change more than that or do something more than just where I was at. And I felt like certain brokerages was going to hold me back from going above and beyond where Nebraska is, And there was other factors in like your commission and your retirement and your stocks and stuff like that. That had something to do with it. But I really started getting into personal development. So I started going to obviously personal development conferences. And everywhere I went, everywhere I went, I was running into EXP agent, EXP agent, EXP agent. So, and I had been doing that for several years, but I never thought anything of it. And then I actually started following an individual on his podcast. It's called As the Leader Grows. And he never promoted EXP or anything like that, but I started following him. And then I got connected with him on Instagram, and he's like, hey, you should come to one of my conferences. It's called Create Conference. Love it. It's fantastic. It's faith-based. His 5 core values are faith, health, relationship, business, and finances. And those are the 5 most important things. And the first 3 come first prior to business and finances. Because without that, or without those first 3, your business can crumble when you have problems in your business. And it's not if, it is when. And so I had gone to his conference, and again, it was just EXP, EXP. And ironically, he was also an EXP agent. And everybody that I was connecting with, I was like, these are the people who have the same mindset as me, like thinking so much bigger, thinking outside the box, thinking more than the town that you live in, more than the state that you live in. They're doing more than just real estate. Like, I didn't want to be tied to just real estate. And that was kind of like my pivotal point of, I'm doing this. And then I ended up going to Puerto Rico with a bunch of people. And then I came back and I said I'm out, and I made the transition. I had been doing that for a while, but I made the transition and never looked back. It was very hard those first 3, 4, 5, 6 months, whatever it was. It was hard, but
Yeah.
I don't regret
Yeah.
it.
Kind of stepping out. It's just something, that's sometimes people can make that decision, right? Like if
Mhm.
somebody's working a job, they could be with a job forever and they hate it.
Yeah,
And they can't, because of fear, they don't make that transition until they have to because somebody fires them, right?
yep,
And even they have that same revelation that you had, is it's the best thing that ever happened to me, right?
right.
But they were forced to do it. So that's kind of cool that you that you were able to make that and just find your tribe, right?
Yeah.
Find the people that were going to help you grow. So that's good. Good. Yeah, that's you're awesome. I love those
Well,
stories.
I really believe that that's why midlife crisis is a thing, is because so many people go to college, get a job, and then they end up never leaving. They never take the chance and the risk to actually do the things that they want. Now, I'm still trying to figure it out. I know real estate is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. I know it is. I love it. I love everything that it has to offer, but I know there's something more. I'm still trying to figure it out. But that's why midlife crisis happens, because people go through the mundane things of life. People overestimate what they can do in 5 years, but underestimate what they can do in a year. Because they're like, oh, I'll do that in 5 years. Okay,
You've
but
been
what
watching Tony
actions are you going to
Robinson.
take today to get there in 5 years? It's not just going to
Yeah,
magically happen. You have to start taking those actions today, because it's going to take you way longer to get where you think you can go in 5 years.
great. That is awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
Yes.
All right. So we all know that real estate can be demanding. So how do you balance business with your family? Because
Hmm.
obviously your husband, Adam, and you have 3 kids. You're both
Yep.
very active in the real estate business. And obviously with your podcast and everything else, how do you kind of bring that all in with family and personal and obviously spiritually that's a huge thing for you as well. And
Yeah.
being in the community of Columbus, right? Because I don't know, a
Right.
lot of people know, there's a lot of people that are going to listen to this video are in large markets, right? With 1 million people in the market where where is Columbus at as far as population?
25,000.
25,000. And so what would you say your inventory level is there on a regular basis there?
So on average lately, it's been about right under 100, kind of
Okay.
fluctuate
So
above and below.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
And that's a
sweet.
lot. That's a lot for us. It
Yeah,
really is.
yeah. Yeah, but I mean, a lot of people look at, you can come to Omaha where obviously I'm at, where, inventory levels at, 2,000 homes, right? But also we have, 3,200 real estate agents,
Mhm.
So, but anyhow, all right. So tell me, answer that question. So real estate's demanding. How do you balance, and you can just go family and business or however you want to expand on that.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't think that there's like a one thing fits all for everybody kind of thing. I also don't know if it's necessarily a work-life balance. It's like a harmony. Like, you're gonna be more focused on business. You're gonna have your seasons where it might be a couple months at a time, a couple weeks, a couple days here and there, where you're maybe focused a little bit more on business, but you also focus more on family. I also think that it's super important that even though you're focusing on business, because like right now we're working on a development that takes a lot of my time, 75 acres, it takes a lot of my time. But it is so important for me to be able to. So what my husband and I have started doing is we have our State of the Union discussions every Sunday. And that just kind of goes over like, hey, how did I show up as a spouse? What are the things that I appreciated about you this week? And then what are things that arose that either was an issue or I didn't bring it up, but it was an issue for me. And then how could I be a better spouse, this next week? So the State of the Union, it's literally like 30 minutes, but that has made a big difference for us. And we've been doing that for like 3 months. So not very long. We also have a weekly luncheon where we're talking about not just business, but the kids, activities, things along those lines. So it's setting apart those times to have that connection with your spouse. And even in the evenings, I mean, I am home almost every evening. Sometimes it'll be a little bit later and him too, but really setting that time apart to be home when you're home and at work when you're at work. And it's hard to do when you have kids kind of pulling you in every which direction. And real estate, as you can plan everything out. Your day's going to go completely different. But like yesterday, I worked a little bit later. So today I'm actually going to go pick up my kids from school and we're going to go to the YMCA and we're going to go play around. So it's kind of having like, all right, it's fine that I'm going to be working a little bit later here, but then I'm going to offset it by picking them up directly from school and we're going to go spend that time together. And you need to put in that family time in your calendar as an appointment. Like kids activities, like it goes into my calendar. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like if somebody's like, hey, can we look at a house on this day at this time? No, I'm not able to. I have another appointment, but I can, meet with you at this time or this time. And that does come with confidence and experience. Whereas before I probably would have tried to figure something out. But I've also gone through ups and downs in my relationship with my husband on how important it is to make them a priority. So their activities go into and him go into my appointment first, and then my appointments and schedules go second. We work around that.
So so one thing that I do teach is I teach, how to create the perfect week, right?
Mhm.
Because one of the things that, when I am coaching real estate agents, because they never come to me and say things like, they never come to me when life is like humming
Great.
perfectly, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, or they would say, I just need to get back on track. So,
Yeah.
they had a bad week, maybe somebody passed away, maybe they were sick, maybe there was a holiday, they just got back from vacation, whatever.
Yep.
And so I've always said you've got to define the perfect week. So
Right.
that way when you come back to work, it's not nobody ever has a perfect week,
Mm-mm.
but you can create that perfect week and
Mhm.
try to maybe be 85% or be 75% or whatever. And then just like when you talked about your State of the Union, not only just in your relationship but
Mhm.
also in your business, and say, okay, what took me off track? What direction do I get? And again, this comes with a lot of experience. It comes with a lot of time, because when you first get into the business, you're just going on all cylinders and you're going in all kinds of different directions.
Yeah.
But what do you have kind of carved out what is that perfect week? Meaning like, okay, so in a perfect week, I've got my family time. It's carved
Mhm.
out. It's in there. I'm gonna have date night is what I like to call it. You maybe call it the State of the Union, but I have
Right.
that's scheduled in.
Yeah.
Time you still have parents, right? Your parents are still with us, yeah.
Yep. Yep.
So being with your parents, all looking at those core relationships, and then kind of expanding out and saying, okay, this is when I'm going to go on listing appointments, and this is when I'm going to lead generate, all that type of stuff.
Right. So, I mean, ideally, I try to set my workday hours from like 8:15, 8:30 after I drop the kids off because I take them into I take them into school. That is what I do every single day. And then I'm usually off between like 4 o'clock and 5:30. Once in a blue moon, I might have a later evening appointment, but very rarely. But I'm usually picking them up or with the kids by 5 o'clock. So, like, I don't know if I necessarily have set times. I mean, on Wednesdays is when I do my podcast. So every Wednesday morning, I know that. Monday evenings, I have volleyball and gymnastics for my daughter, and I help coach with that. Tuesday nights, we have dance with our other daughter. So I mean, like, I have those things set aside. I wouldn't say that I have like the perfect week, but my ideal week is I'm working between like 8:30 and 5:30. That's really what I aim for. But what comes from me, like when I get off track, it's usually because I got off track with my health and my nutrition. And that is a domino effect for me. And I know that because when I start eating unhealthy, I start feeling more tired. Start feeling more bloated. I'm a lot more sluggish. I'm not as clear-minded. And so usually when things are not going well in my business life, I have to take another look at, okay, how is my workouts going? Because I'm always working out, no matter what. Like it could be, I could be off on my nutrition, but I'm always working out. That's just my thing in the morning. I have to do that. That sets me up for the day. But when I'm usually slacking in the business side of things and things start to seem to maybe slow down, I take another look at, okay, how have I been eating? That's what's been the biggest thing for me, is because that I feel like is a direct correlation on how productive I am during the day. Because if I'm eating pizza and I'm eating out more and I'm doing all of that, that's really where I see the biggest slide for me in my business.
Okay. All right. So health. I like it.
Absolutely. Health
Um,
and faith too.
yeah. And so, all right. So what's one piece of advice you'd give a brand new agent? So you work with new agents, I'm assuming you're
Mhm.
coaching and you're training and stuff like that. So what would be one kind of, this is a, you can look at this question one of two ways. A new agent, or what advice would you give yourself when you first got into the real estate business?
Right. I mean, really putting yourself out there. I feel like I did a really good job putting myself out there, getting involved in the community, because I think that's also what grew my presence. Being okay with not doing everything. So one of the biggest things that I feel like really changed here in our community, and I have a lady who she brings this up on a regular basis, is my kids do come first. And especially when I had real little ones, I would take them with me to showings, listing appointments, meetings, not because I necessarily wanted to, because I didn't have that choice. It was, hey, either I'm taking my kids with me or we're not going to be able to meet and we have to reschedule. I never once had anybody say no. I remember I got involved with the chamber and my baby was newborn, Braylon. And I told the chamber president, I said, hey, I want to be there, but I'm not going to be able to because I don't have daycare for my baby until, 8, 9, 10 weeks, whatever it was. And he's like, no, that's fine. You can bring her. So I was bringing her to everything. I was bringing her to every appointment. I didn't use her as an excuse to stay home and not go to these events. And I have a friend now who says, like, she's like, I will never forget that. She's like, you are one of the first and probably only people who started bringing their kids to these meetings. But it also taught my kids how to sit there and be respectful. They don't get the phone. I'm not going to sit there and give them a phone or an iPad. No, I want them to be able to sit through a meeting for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, where, and that's asking a lot for a little kid, don't get me wrong. But I remember going to meetings and I would go to meetings where it was like an hour and a half, and my kids literally were just like, for an hour and a half. But they learned it. They understand the patience. Like I gave them a pen and a piece of paper. Um, but I don't just give them the phone, so it taught them how to behave too. But I don't really know. I forgot the question, to be honest with you, but that was kind of,
What would one piece of
oh yeah.
advice?
Yeah. I don't know where I was going with that. I just kind of went down that. But honestly, okay, so
That's a
focusing on
life lesson. That's a life
that's a
lesson
life
with people
lesson.
with young
Life
kids.
lesson.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes. I would say when you start getting transactions, focusing on your client and staying in touch with your client, working your past clients, it's all in the follow-up. I will tell you that when you're a new agent and you get a prospective client, or you're an experienced agent and you have past clients or new potential clients, it is all in the follow-up. And so finding out what different systems and processes you can put into place to stay in touch with your past clients and to stay in touch with those prospective leads. I mean, it's a make or break. It is a make or break in business in general, not just real estate.
Okay. And then is there anything specific that you use that you're
Yep.
currently using in regards to marketing? So like one of the
Yes.
things that we teach is mail, call, see, email, social media, trying to hit all the avenues to stay top of mind.
Yep.
What do you specifically do to stay top of mind with your sphere of influence?
Well, so I did finally hire a virtual assistant. She handles all of my marketing. I had somebody else who was handling it. She was more local, but I needed to kind of like go a little bit more and not just pay $25 an hour here locally. So I hired a virtual assistant. She handles all of my social media marketing. She's posting on a daily, multiple times a day on my social media. So that takes off my plate. But the biggest thing that I would say is I've always done TPMCO. It's called the follow-up plan. I don't even remember what it cost anymore. It used to be $25 for a follow-up. So what it is you go to TPMCO, I think it's $35 now. After you close a transaction, you input their information and their address. For $35, they will get 2 postcards and 2 newsletters every year. So each quarter, they will get something for the next 5 years. $35. It's a set it and forget it. This is something that my VA does. So every closing, she goes in there and inputs them, and they will get 2 postcards, 2 newsletters every single year for the next 5 years for $35. No brainer. Okay. And it's branded to me. So it has my picture, my information. The other thing that I started doing probably 3 years ago, it's called AM cards. So we created like a drip, or not a drip campaign. It's like a mailing campaign. So every time we close a deal, again, my VA goes in there and does this, but my clients get a card after 1 week, 3 months, 6 months, and then at a year, they get another happy 1 year anniversary. Here's a box of brownies, and it also sends them a box of brownies. So these are 2 things that you could easily implement. That is a set it and forget it. You go in there, you input their information in one time in each of those systems, and it'll automatically go out. Like, you have to obviously set up the campaign that you want. You could have it for once a month for 12 months. You could do it for 5 years, whatever you want. But I felt that those are the 2 things that I started implementing. I also do a client appreciation event each quarter. I also try to keep it as simple as possible. My attorney always tells me, Shay, kiss, keep it simple, stupid. And I'm like, all right, got to do that. So like what we do in February every year is we go to the movie theater and we have tickets, and we invite our clients through postcards and emails and videos and text messages, and they literally just show up. We give them a ticket, they go into the movie theater, we pay their way in. Super easy, literally takes like very little to no effort. In April, we do like a dumpster day for Earth Day or Arbor Day, so I have a roll off that sits outside our office. It sits there for a week to 2 weeks. They can come clean, spring cleaning. That's number 2. The third one is usually like a back to school bash. And then the last one is usually I also like to give back to the community. So our Habitat for Humanity does these cookie cutting, or these cookie kits. So I buy like 35 cookie kits from Habitat for Humanity, and then I give that to my clients that we closed on this year and anybody who had sent me referrals. So I usually order between 35 and 50 per year, and I'll hand those out. And then I do like a little giveaway for that too. So it's just kind of finding systems that work for you, and then processes where you could just do a set it and forget it. And then
Yeah.
obviously they get emails from me through my CRM and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
that's not where the connection is. It's not the email.
Well, but I think at the same time, it's just, you made that a lot of times real estate agents, they'll make that solid connection for, whether it's 60 days or 90 days, whatever it is, when you're
Right.
helping somebody buy a house or sell a house, and then they don't do anything after that, right? So
Right.
even something as simple as the TMPCO or the AM cards
Hmm.
is something that, and that again, obviously, always the challenge is going to be for a real estate agent is money. But at
Right.
the end of the day, if you are taking part, if you just figure in a percent, I don't know, whatever in the commission, right?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
figure that in, that every client you're going to spend X amount of dollars for the next 10 years. Because
Hmm.
I believe that you can 10x your business consistently if you just I mean, obviously you know me. I'm always about asking that magic question, right?
Yeah.
And so at the same time, though, you've got to stay top of mind,
Yes.
and you got to become their real estate agent in their mind, right?
Right.
And
Right.
just a very simple, like, because Linda, my wife, she started to, after we do a listing appointment, she would
Uh-huh.
send them some hot brownies or whatever. I don't know what company she uses, but she'll
Right.
send some hot brownies, which these people, I mean, it's very cheap, but they'll call, and say, I just love these brownies. This is awesome. So, but it's just little things. And I think those are the things that agents are looking for to kind of just tweak their business a little bit. So, all
Well,
right.
so I use AM cards. So AM cards is more for like one-off. So I use AM cards for so many things. So like anytime I have a listing appointment, Even if I don't get the listing or they're thinking about it, I'll send them a card through AM cards, and it's a good quality card too that says, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me. To even if it's a phone call and it's somebody who's really considering selling, but I haven't met with them yet, I will follow up with one of those cards because it's one thing when you're talking to somebody. I'm terrible with memory. So if somebody calls me and I talk to them on the phone, I hang up, I forgot their name already. So if I can follow up with them with a card that says, hey, thank you so much for having that conversation with me last week. I appreciate it. Please let me know if there's anything else I can do. I will also then put a reminder in my phone to follow up with so and so in 2 weeks. And then the other thing that I do is when I do get a listing, when they do sign with me, I will send them a thank you card with brownies. It's $15, literally $15 is it is through AM cards that I send them a thank you. Thank you for listing with us and blah, blah, blah. And they get a box of brownies. Anytime I get a referral from somebody, like friend, family, sphere of influence, whatever, I also go on to AM cards and I will also send them a box of brownies. The brownies, for some reason, is the thing that stands out most. You can send them like a $25 Amazon gift card, but if you send them those brownies, like that's people love it. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just crazy.
Yeah.
And then what I also love is like when that box of brownies for the 1 year anniversary gets delivered, I get an email that says, hey, your box of brownies have been delivered for the 1 year anniversary. So then that makes me, I go into my phone, I'm going to send them a text that says, hey, congratulations on your 1 year anniversary. I can't believe it's been 1 year already. And so it's just little things like that that makes
Yep.
such a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah. It's huge. It's huge. Now, technically, we probably should be sending fruit to them versus brownies, but
I would agree, but the AM cards doesn't offer fruit. So
yeah.
I would
All
agree.
right.
You can do all sorts of things through AM cards. They have all sorts of little gifts that you can give. But for whatever reason, I'm telling you, it's the
Yes.
brownies. It's brownies,
Yes.
even over the $50 Amazon gift card. They like the brownies.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So, how do you stay current in this evolving industry?
A lot of my lenders will send out constant reports and stuff like that, but EXP also has a bunch of things that you can stay current on. I also listen to Altos Real Estate, I think is what it is, through his YouTube channel. I'll watch that occasionally. He kind of talks about the feds cutting rates, what that means. But it's a lot of emails through my lenders and then trial and error too. I ask a lot of questions. Like yesterday, I knew the feds were going to be cutting the rates or whenever that was 2 days ago. And I asked my lender, it's like, is this actually going to impact the market or the mortgage rates? And unfortunately, we're not going to see the rate cut that we and people were hoping for or projecting. So it's just asking a lot of questions, a lot of trial and error. Listings help you stay or force you to stay on top of the market so you know what's going on. You can tell, obviously, if you have listings, to have calls slowed down, have showings slowed down, have offers slowed down. So listings really help you to stay on top of it, for me anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, good. So, this is kind of shifting gears a little bit, more on legacy and vision. So, what kind of impact do you want your business to have on your clients and I don't know, your own family?
I always say I'm going to retire by 40, so I have 6 years to retire. And when I say retire, I'm not actually going to retire. It's just I want to be at a point financially where I have the ability to do things greater than what I'm doing now. So, as I said before, I'm still kind of figuring out what I want to do in life. I love real estate. I love it all, but the legacy that I want to set more so for my kids is helping them realize that like anything is possible. Like you set your mind to it and you can do it. Like I grew up from a town of 600 people, right? I am working on a development that is 75 acres, far greater than the town I even grew up in. You know what I mean? Like, because I was on a
Yeah.
podcast one time and somebody asked me, like, did you ever think you would ever be doing a development? Not a chance. People don't get lucky. You have to get up and you have to seek opportunity and you have to seek abundance because so many people live in the scarcity mindset that there's nothing in life that we can do or they're so focused on the negativity. But even as I sit here in my office and I look out the window, there's millions of dollars of abundance around me. And I'm in a very small town and I can't see much sitting, outside my window. But the things that we have to start looking for is abundance and opportunity. And when you start looking at life that way, more opportunities will come to you. And it's just whether you say yes or no to that. So just not even in the real estate world, but just helping my kids understand that and not only my kids, but obviously those around me, like anything and everything is possible. I grew up in a very small town, not in the real estate world, not much money at all. I'll never forget. I don't know if my parents will listen to this, but I remember that we were so poor that we lived in a very old farmhouse that they could only afford to replace one window each year. And that window was replaced by my dad. You know what I mean? So, like, it's just crazy to think. And I'll never forget that. And I remember mom and dad were arguing over money one time, and I tried to give them $10 from my piggy bank. And mom was like, that's not going to help. We really love it. We appreciate it, but it's not going to help. And I thought in my mind, $10 is a lot. Like, if you owe $1,000, now you only owe $990, whatever it is. And, but they wouldn't take my $10. I remember that, I remember money was a big thing that my parents argued over a lot. And not that I don't want to discuss money in front of my kids, because I do. Oh, I make them pay for stuff. I made my kids pay for their Halloween costume if it exceeded $20 last year. So I want to teach the concept of money. I want them to understand that not everything is so easy to get, and it takes hard work to get there and to be smart about it.
How's your daughter's business going? Wasn't she making bracelets and stuff?
Yeah, a lot. A lot. And when you say my daughter's business, it's actually my business, I think. It's exhausting, I'm not gonna lie, because obviously, so my daughter doesn't have a phone. So it's not like people are texting her, they're texting me. And they're commenting on my Facebook post because it's her page, but it's still mine. And so it's a lot. It's a lot, but and she's so busy in other activities too we're working on, so one of my cousins, her little boy, he's 3 and he has cancer. So we have a banquet for him next weekend. And so her and I have been working on making all these bracelets. I hope to get 75 bracelets. We're at like 45. And then we're going to donate like 75% of those proceeds to, back to them. So that's been a lot. That takes a lot more time than you think, because I don't have a whole lot of time. And like when we are home, sometimes you just want to sit there and relax. But here we are. I even had my husband and Kaysen all sitting down making bracelets the other night.
Well, here's when demand is high, that's when you can raise your prices.
I know.
That will balance things out, right? So maybe you're only
I don't
making
know how
10
much of a
bracelets.
demand there is in bracelets, but it's been a lot,
Well,
I'm
I
not
thought they
gonna
were
lie.
cute. I thought they were
That's
really cute.
They are cute. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's my mom sent me one the other day and it said be kind, but the K was backward and the D was backwards or something like that. And I was like, okay, well, that was probably one of her very first ones. And she's like, well, I'm gonna buy it. I'm like, great, because it'll get tossed away. So
All right. So, do you have any closing thoughts? Because one last thing that just pops into my head is just like, so what are you doing anything consistently in regards to lead gen? I know back in the day you were paying a gentleman for your leads
okay.
that you were getting off Zillow and your website and stuff like that. Is
Yep.
there anything
Yep.
specific that you're doing right now for lead gen to
Um,
drum up new leads?
Yeah, I do pay for Zillow. I do pay for Zillow. I also pay for homes.com, which I'm probably going to let that one go. It is a lot of trial and error. I've tried a lot of different things, and unfortunately, Zillow does work. It's expensive, but it does work. And but you do have to have majority of the market share for it to make sense. And you have to work the leads though. And that's the thing, is like if you're on a team or you're with a brokerage, you can't just sit back and expect them to give you these leads that are just ready to go. You have to work them. And that's the same with like Zillow leads. That's the same with sold.com. That's the same with Fast Expert and all these other platforms you can go in. There's so many different platforms and you can go on to that's free for you to sign up for. And then you just have to pay them a referral if you get a lead. So there's like sold.com, Fast Expert. I don't know. I have a whole list of them that I've sent to like new agents where I'm like, go get registered. Like there's no money out of your pocket to get registered up front, but you do have to pay typically a 35% referral. So that is one thing that you could do as a new agent. Versus paying a monthly fee for something like Zillow. So that's something you could do. But I am very obviously consistent with the Zillow. I currently use homes.com. My main focus is seller leads, and there's not a whole bunch of platforms for seller leads. Fortunately, the last 2 years, I haven't had to do much prospecting. I always follow up though. If I get somebody who's calling me, I am following up because I'm telling you that is where the money is at. I have a friend who she knows a lot of real estate agents. They're moving out of town. She has told me that they want to draw out of a hat. And I said, I'm going to challenge you to interview at least 3 agents, interview them or interview all of them. I don't even care. Interview them. And then if you can't decide, then draw out of a hat. But, and I have followed up with her probably 5 times in the last month and a half. You know what I mean? So I'm always following up with people who have contacted me or inquired about listing a home. So I have been very fortunate that I haven't had a lot of like cold calling, but I will call, I will follow up with a letter, an email, a text message, a phone call. So that is really what I am stressing to people. It is all in the follow up.
That's interesting. I've never heard drawing an agent's name out of a
I
hat
thought that was weird. I was like, I wouldn't.
to sell your
I
most expensive
know. Yeah.
investment.
Yeah, because she's like, well, I called a friend and she's like, well, that's what she recommended doing. I was like, I would not do that. I said, you need to interview agents first. And then if you truly cannot
Yeah,
decide,
yeah.
then pull it out of a hat. But
Use your critical thinking.
yeah, I literally just told her that yesterday. And she's like, oh my gosh, I never even thought about that. I'm like, oh my gosh, please don't just pull somebody's name out of a hat. Please don't do that.
Well,
Every
unless it's mine.
Well, if
If
it's
it's
all
mine.
Shea Spitz in there, then yes, go for it. But I was just like, no, don't do that because agents vary vastly for how they represent you as a seller. I mean, it is
Oh yeah.
night and day difference. So
Yeah.
whew, don't do that. So I'm hoping they don't do
Oh,
that. We'll see.
oh, good. Well, all right. Do you have anything else you want to add?
I mean, I would just say the biggest thing is your follow up. Know your worth. That's another thing I have. Like, full transparency. I have like a end goal. Like, my goal is to have $25,000 a month per month for cash flow, free of cash flow. And I came up with that number because I took like what my living expenses are and I times it by a certain amount. So understand, like, have a goal. Like, what do you want to get? It might take me a long time to get there. And I know $25,000 a month seems like a lot, and it is, but you have to have a goal and set those goals high. I've had this goal for like 5 years and I'm not there. But one of the other goals is like $500 an hour by working 35 to 40 hours a week. You know what I mean? So, like, set those goals, put them down in front of you. The other thing that I have sitting here is I want to retire my parents with $10,000 a month by the age of 65 for them. So that means I have like 6 years to where I can find a way to get them an income of $10,000 per month. And it's not me giving it to them. My family is not like that. They're not going to just be like, oh, Shay, thanks for the $10,000 each month. No, I have to figure out a way that it can be their money to get a return. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's things like that. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but you need to have goals that you can look at on a daily basis. I have a bunch more sitting here, but you need to have goals that you can look at to meet. And if you're going to hit it, you need to increase it. Like,
Yeah.
if your goal was to do 50 transactions this year and it's September and you're at 48, all right, you got to increase that because you should never hit your goal. You got to make it bigger, you know? So that's, I guess, and then just have the belief in yourself that you are fully capable of doing it. I can see
Yeah.
people's value and their potential in them far before they can ever see it in themselves, but that's where it's at. Like, you have to believe it to your core that you're fully capable of what you want to do in life.
Well, and I've known you long enough and followed you long enough that the one quote that I think of when you were showing me your goals is from Jim Rohn, and he says it's not necessarily the goal that's important; it's who you become while
Mm-hmm.
trying to hit the goal.
Yeah,
And yeah, so your journey has been really fun to watch.
I
So
appreciate that.
I mean, really, it's probably going to sound really creepy, but watching your workout videos
Yeah.
um, was always inspiring. And I mean, when I first saw you doing that, I said you need to keep doing those because that is you. I mean, you inspire people, and
Yes.
by selling real estate. I mean, you are who you are, a mom, a spouse, somebody who has faith, who happens to sell real estate. And
Right.
that's kind of your avenue. That's your engine of being able to service and, live the lifestyle that you want to live. And
Mm-hmm.
you could have done that as a nurse. You could have done that as whatever other avenue you wanted, but you found that through real estate. Now, I
Mhm.
would say, looking back, that you didn't have to spend $25,000 to figure out that. But again, it made you make that all-in commitment,
Right.
right?
Yep.
And at the end of the day, you got a return on investment from it too.
Right.
So, and that was the one thing that said, you know what, we're burning all bridges, or all ships,
Yep.
and we're going to get into this full thing. And if that was the one thing mindset wise that made you do the work
Mhm.
because you did not want to waste that 25,
Yeah.
because there's people all
Yeah.
the time that will sign up for coaching, that'll sign up for a class that I teach, that'll do that. They have all intentions of not doing the work.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
just getting caught up in the moment of
Yep.
me selling something to them, which
Yep.
they know they're not going to do the work. And
Right.
let's be honest with you, it's typically, I know they say the what is it, Precipo or whatever, the 80/20 rule.
Oh,
I can never
yeah,
think
I
of
know
the,
what you're talking about.
but I think it's more 90/10.
Yeah,
And
I would agree.
that's, one of the things that I'm hoping that agents get from this video is, to me, every time I talk to you, and it's gotten even more powerful, is you're like watching a female Tony Robbins, okay? And just so you know, you quoted him. What was the quote? It's like, people underestimate what they
Oh,
can do in life.
people overestimate what they can do in 5 years and underestimate what they can do in a year.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So it's just, but it's like, it's even, when you sit here, and I think one of the things that people saw in like Charlie Kirk
Hmm.
was not just his faith, but if you were a follower of him and you
Yes.
followed he just mesmerized people with how convicted he was, with
Yes.
how he can describe why you're wrong,
Right.
or why you should think of it differently. Not that you're a
Yes.
bad person for thinking the way you're thinking, but
Right.
hey, maybe think of it this way. So that was a good that's a good interview.